Hi guys. I wanted to talk about sensitivity. It is a huge topic, specifically in competitive FPS. I think it's actually probably the most debated over the course of competitive CS history. Um, there are two major kind of approaches to it. The first one being, there's this one godlike sensitivity out there that everybody should use because it's the best one, and yeah, everybody should just use this one sensitivity. Either it's a high sensitivity or a low sensitivity, and everybody should just use it, and it's the best one. And then the other approach, which is the more popular approach, is that it's subjective and you should just choose whatever you're most comfortable with. Now, admittedly, I'm a nobody. I have never been to a major LAN, I have never competed professionally, etc, etc, etc. I have played the game for over a decade, and in that decade, I have always been searching for that one perfect sensitivity for me. And so I feel like this video could help people who are looking for that sensitivity. Or maybe it just sparks more debate. Either way, I was hoping this would help. So let's demystify the first two approaches. So the first approach, I think, is almost self-explanatory why it's not the greatest idea. Reason being, everybody's different. The second approach is almost a demystification of the first approach, that you should be choosing something that is comfortable with you. So no, I don't think there's one sensitivity out there that everybody should be using because it is the best sensitivity. And yeah, everybody's different, so it just doesn't make sense. Now, the second one kind of has the same reasoning. Now, it's the more popular one. Most people, especially the pros say this a lot, is that it is just preference, whatever you're most comfortable with. I honestly think that that is just as unhelpful as the other theory. When somebody says, just pick whatever is most comfortable, and that's the best one for you, I think that's very unhelpful, and I'll explain why. Let's first consider the fact that, whether you believe it or not, playing a video game is a physical act. It involves your body, it involves your muscles, it involves your reflexes, and your brain. Like any other sport, and you could argue this, why esports could be considered a real sport, like blah 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 blah. Bringing that back to sensitivity. You have to realize that everybody's different. Everybody's body is different, and that plays a role on what sensitivity you're going to use. So let's talk a little bit about Forrest here, because inevitably the debate will come in that we have to talk about Forrest because he's one of the best all-time aimers, and his sensitivity is ridiculously high. So people often argue that a higher sensitivity is better. All the best players use a high sensitivity, etc, etc, etc. And I'm here to tell you that while there might be some truth to it, there is a lot more to it than just that. Because we're all different, because our bodies play a role in playing the game, we have a certain potential, and then we also have a comfort level. And so my view on the whole thing is that it's a combination of the two approaches. There is one sensitivity out there that you can find that is your best sensitivity. But it also needs to be adjusted to what is comfortable to you. Now that sounds it sounds a little bit different than what you, it sounds almost, it almost sounds like it's canceling itself out. So I'll go over what I found to be the probably most helpful way of finding my sensitivity. In my journey through finding my sensitivity, it took a lot more than just do this technique and find your sensitivity. Go with whatever's comfortable, and that's your sensitivity. There's more to it. There's another step. So if you're watching this video and you're looking up sensitivities or videos on how to find your sensitivity, you've inevitably found the one that which one is it? Burst training. So you've inevitably found the one that the guy, I can't remember, I'll have to credit it and link it in the description below. He gets you to find or mark something on the wall and pick a sensitivity that you believe you're comfortable with, and then just try to lock onto it, going side to side, and then try different different distances, and do that for a little while, and then adjust your sensitivity by like 0.5 or whatever it is, and then try it again. And you're supposed to end up with your target sensitivity if you follow that video. That video was very helpful for me, in that I'm not considering, what others think is the best sensitivity. I'm not considering forest sensitivity or Hiko sensitivity or nothing sensitivity. I'm considering my sensitivity, what I am most comfortable with, and also what I am capable of physically, right? Like, this is what I'm physically capable of. Just doing this and selecting a sensitivity that keeps me in this realm really locks down my potential in a certain sense. But now you have to take it a step further. Once you've completed that video and found that sensitivity, there is more to it. Now what you have to do is deathmatch. Or train your aim, basically. So what I would do, actually, is I would record my deathmatches. And I'm sure you've heard people say this, record your pugs, record your scrims, go over your own demo and see what you did wrong and stuff like that. I actually took it a step further and started even recording my deathmatching. And what I would do is analyze how I was, aiming and shooting. And started to look at it in terms of what would this, if this wasn't me, if this was somebody totally random, what would I say? And you notice certain things, like if I'm trying to trace somebody or follow somebody, maybe when I'm trying to shoot at this one guy, my crosshair's a little bit lagging behind the whole way. Now I have to consider, was that a miss? Did I miss him? Or is this consistently happening? Whenever I try to aim at somebody, is it often that I'm behind him a little bit? Just a little bit? If that's the case, maybe I need to adjust my sensitivity. So right now it's at 1.19. Maybe I'll try 1.2. Right? And then try that. Now I'm struggling to not get in front of it. Right? Now I'm jumping ahead a little bit every time. And this is physically I'm the most comfortable doing this, but what's happening on the screen is I'm a little bit ahead. So maybe I need to lower it. But I also, take that step back and just remember, is it just this one time, or is this happening often? Am I getting ahead of myself often? Maybe I should bring it back a bit. Instead of, what was it, 1.2, maybe I'll try the 1.9, which is my sensitivity right now. And then I found, okay, now I'm consistently on target, like all the time, right? And then now it's gotten to the point where whenever I am behind, I realize, okay, that was a miss. Okay, now I'm on, now I'm on, now I'm on, now I'm on, now I'm on. Oh, there's this other guy. Oh, that was a miss, because that doesn't happen often. It becomes a series of analyzing your own matches, analyzing your own demos, and realizing the difference between missing and there's an issue with the sensitivity. So another way I wanted to debunk that whole just choose a sensitivity that's you're most comfortable with. One of the reasons I think that is the worst advice, well, not the worst, but you need to incorporate that extra step, because what you get is like a bunch of these players who, you know, use this super high sensitivity because Forrest uses it, and they're the most comfortable with this sensitivity because they're confident, because a lot of the pros use high sensitivity. They can 180 headshot, they can check all their corners. It's their most comfortable sensitivity. The problem is that when they go to aim at somebody, you know, it's a little difficult. Or when they're holding an angle and somebody surprises them, they overshot. They overshoot consistently. You see this all the time in MM. That one guy who just, he's holding an angle, he sees somebody and he flicks. He's holding this guy and then he wants to shoot this guy, but when he goes to do it, he flicks and he misses. That's his body. That's he's wired a bit differently than what is he's capable of controlling this sensitivity, right? So you need to take that into consideration when choosing your sensitivity. It's not just what's most comfortable. There is adjustment to be made, right? You have to analyze your own playing, right? Like, oh, I'm holding this angle, I'm holding this angle, I'm holding this angle, this angle, this angle. Oh, this guy came out. Oh, I was ahead of him. Now, was that a miss, or does that happen often? Right? If it happens often, there's an adjustment that needs to be made. So, that after a series of analyzing my demos, analyzing my own style of play, just being honest with myself about what I'm capable of, what's too fast for me and my body and my eyes, what's too slow for what's for me and my body and my. It's not a question of competing, you know. It's not a question of, oh, who has the fastest reflexes or whatever. That's not a question. It's what sensitivity is most suitable for my body, that I will have the best aim with my body. Right? And then you can, it doesn't matter what the sensitivity is, low or high, that is your highest potential, right? And it doesn't matter if it's high or low. If you've picked the right sensitivity, then you're going to be the most accurate with it, right? I mean, you can really, if you really want to ponder this, I mean, think if you got Forrest to play, what is he at, 3.1 right now? If you had Forrest change his sensitivity to 1 and train for the next 2 years with 1, do you think he'd be just as good? I don't, because he's not suited, his body's just not suited for that, right? There's a lot more potential, there's a lot more of ability, you know? Now you could take it a step further. Well, why doesn't he play at 5? Well, because his potential, it doesn't suit that. His body does not suit that sensitivity, right? He's not able to, maybe he's not able to control it, maybe he doesn't feel comfortable with it, right? You have to consider, why is it that sensitivity? Why is it specifically that sensitivity? Why is it that sensitivity for him, right? It's not a good or bad sensitivity, it's just his sensitivity, right? And so you need to find your sensitivity, one that you are comfortable with and one that unlocks your potential. Alright? Thanks, guys.